Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Ryan Nabinger Show. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoy this, please take a moment to comment and like and subscribe as well. Thank you so much for listening. Today, I want to talk a little bit about what's happening in Iran and everything that's happened there. uh, with all this on again, off again strikes. Like maybe we'll attack them, maybe we won't. Maybe they've attacked us. We don't know. A lot of confusion going on there, and and I just really want to focus in like why did we go to Iran in the first place? Was it just because we wanted to attack somebody? Was it because they were threatening? Why did we go over there? Because it didn't seem to be sold to the American people incredibly well. So I just want to try to shed some light on that today. So let's get into it. Imagine a world where the United States wasn't just the world's dominant power, but it was the dominant power everyone had to rely on for energy. This is the world that is being built, where all of our global adversaries are coming to us for their energy, and we are done apologizing for being so great. On January 3rd, 2026, U.S. forces launched a lightning-fast raid to capture Nicolas Maduro, codenamed Operation Absolute Resolve. This was threefold. One, it proved that the United States is not a nation in decline, as we could swoop in and snatch a world leader with relative ease. A nation in decline does not do that. Second, it brought to justice someone who is responsible for killing more than 100,000 Americans every year with fentanyl and other deadly narcotics. That is more than the Vietnam War and every war afterwards combined. And three, it put an end to the shipping of sanctioned oil to our adversaries, China, Russia, and Cuba. But what came next was what was truly remarkable. Nothing. No troops were put on the ground. No Americans died. Just peaceful transfer of power. This was the enforcing of a centuries-old standard adapted to the 20th century, the Monroe Doctrine, kicking our enemies out of our hemisphere without trying to be the world's policeman. Then came Greenland, something that confused most people. Why was it so important? Not only is it strategic militarily, but it also contains rare earth minerals and secures Arctic trading routes. A deal was struck here, with more still on the table. With Venezuela oil gone, Cuba has all but collapsed, and China has been hurt very badly. But they had a backup: Iran. For many years, China has been buying Iranian oil at half the going market price, unfairly undercutting the rest of the world. No amount of sanctions, threats, or tariffs could get them to stop. So there was only one option left, a step everyone hoped it wouldn't come to because of the short-term implications. So on February 28th, 2026, Operation Epic Fury was launched. All of the top officials, including the Ayatollah, were killed. The military was blown to pieces, and the military capabilities degraded beyond recognition. Absolute fire and brimstone rained on their heads. Predictably, Iran closed the Strait of Hormuz. Even more predictably, oil spiked along with gas prices, some places worse than others. Europe got up to $10 a gallon, the US $4.50. But it's the next part where the story gets good. While everyday people were freaking out and the stock market withdrew, something happened quietly. The media didn't report on it. They were too busy predicting doom and the end of civilization, after all. Immediately after the fighting started, more than 170 massive oil tankers from all over the world did literal U-turns in the middle of oceans. These tankers were on their way to the Persian Gulf to get oil to take back to their countries, but they didn't return home. Instead, they immediately started racing for the Gulf of America, which wasn't blocked. In fact, even a global energy analyst by the name of Quilter Caruli admitted that since the closure of the Strait of Hormuz, the influence over oil prices has started to shift from OPEC to the United States. To those who aren't paying attention, everything can seem random, as if all of these are one-off stories. But to those who are paying attention, they are all connected. When the Berlin Wall was knocked down and the Soviet Union fell, the world changed drastically. Most people missed it. Ronald Reagan changed the world, but the people of his time didn't notice. In this new world, the United States will be the one at the head of the table, but not carrying the world's weight. Everyone will carry their own weight, but still be reliant on the US for fuel. We lead, we win, we thrive. Now, the reason that this is important is because at post World War II, the United States kind of I guess you could say, ceded a lot of power over our own sovereignty to other countries, and we were basically apologizing a lot for being so great, for being such a great country. But that's not the way it should work. I mean, we earned this. We rightfully earned this power. So we need to stop apologizing for it. And so what I believe the president is doing is he is reshaping the world to put the power back in our laps so that we're not continuing to basically like fund everything that any other country wants to do, but we are taking it and using that money and holding that power over our adversaries, because China can't continue to just undercut the rest of the world, because that's just unfair to the rest of the world. So something had to be done. Now, as for the nuclear aspect, I do believe that Iran was probably very close to getting a nuclear weapon. I mean, they had stated goals of getting nuclear weapons, and they've had them for as long as this regime has been in power, since Jimmy Carter was president. So I do believe that that was definitely an aspect in it. However, another aspect of part of it was this trying to reshape the world so that we're not reliant on everybody else, but that they're reliant on us. And I think that's very important that we learn to understand that. Now, as far as the faith aspect, Iran is an evil regime and an enemy to the people of God, both Jewish and Christian. And they must be stopped. I mean, they are literally decapitating Christians and Jews every day, all the time. They want us dead. They call the United States the big Satan and Israel the little Satan. And Israel obviously is primarily Jewish, who were chosen by God to be His people, and Christians chosen by or were saved by Jesus, or ones who are saved by Jesus, obviously. And America is a Christian nation. We were founded upon Christian values as well, and we can go over that another time too, because that's very fascinating to get into whenever you actually start looking into it. But America is a Christian nation, Israel is a Jewish nation, and they want us both gone because they're Islamic. And Islam is not compatible with the West. It's just not. So whenever we go over there and we bomb them and we take away their military capabilities, that's just not like unprovoked. That's definitely provoked. They've been provoking us since they came into power, since this regime came into power, the Ayatollah Khamenei did. They've been provoking us, taking our own soldiers captive, uh, funding our enemies, funding terrorist groups that attacked us. In fact, they've funded the Houthi and Hezbollah and Hamas, who have all attacked us in one way or another. So they've definitely provoked us for many, many years. So that's definitely very important to understand as well. The Now, you can hear a lot like things like, or you hear recently, let's just take this as an example. You hear recently the president saying that the strait is now open, and now Iran's claiming no, it's not. Well, actually, the strait is open. Reports have been circulating that a task force in Fort Bragg, North Carolina, was formed, and they were formed several months ago, and they've been helping sneak ships in and out, or out, I guess you could say, of the Strait of Hormuz to to relieve some of that oil. And that's the reason that oil prices actually aren't higher. That's why the price of the pump isn't much higher, because if that hadn't happened, it would be so much more expensive to go get gas. Oil would be so much higher. And so the reports are saying that every night, at a certain time, ships are to exit a certain corridor that has been forced open by the United States Navy and Marines, and then another separate time, there are others that are supposed to go back the other way to get more oil, and so the U.S. has been guarding that. And to my earlier point about making China and Russia and Cuba and all of them reliant on us, China has just came out like, within the last week. I can't remember the exact date, but I do remember it was within the last week. They came out and said that basically they're stopping sending ships to through the Strait of Hormuz. They're sending them to Oman to get refueled. Now, the place they have to go through the strait, I forget the name of it, but the strait they have to go through Oman to get to Oman to get oil. They are that strait is the security is provided by the United States. So basically, they have to go through us to get to that oil. So that is right there is straight in the that right there is basically evidence to my point that now we're doing by doing this we're forcing these other countries to come to us, and whenever we provide security for Strait, obviously we decide who goes in and who goes out. So if all of a sudden they have to come through us, then we can say, oh well, we don't want you to come through today, and then they'd be like, okay, what do we have to do to get through it, and then we could give our list of demands. Now, as far as the deal is concerned, with Iran, the way Islam works, and we must understand the way the Muslims think to be able to understand why they're behaving the way they are, and not just Muslims but Islamists as well. Islamists are want like they just want the end of civilization so that they can rule the world. That is their ultimate goal, and that is why they are incompatible with the West, and they just don't have the same values as like our American Judeo-Christian values. It's just not compatible. The two of them are not. But the way Islam works is when you have two warring Muslim tribes, they are fighting, and when one goes to the other to ask for a deal, it means that they're at their wits' end. So, whenever we keep going to them and are like, hey, you ready to make a deal? Then, and they think that they're winning. So that means that means that they could just hold out longer and will eventually capitulate. So, what needs to happen, what I believe needs to happen, is that we need to go in. We need to bomb them. They need to come until they come to us for a deal, and then we say nope, and then we bomb them some more, and we just keep doing that back and forth until eventually that they're just like done. They just can't take it anymore, and then bomb them some more, and then force them to come to us for that deal because that means that in their mind that is them giving up. And so whenever we come to them asking for a deal, they think we're giving up. Now we know we're not. We know we just want the war to end because we're Westerners and we don't want wars to last a long time. So, but they don't know that. They don't have the same mindset we do. So we must remember that, and that's what I think needs to happen. That we just need to bomb them so much that that they're just done. That any more and they will any more will just be pointless because they'll just be gone. Uh, that so we need that's what needs to happen. What I believe needs to happen there. If you don't agree with me, or if you agree with me, put it in the comments. Or we can have a discussion about it. So, so that's what I believe needs to happen. Now, when it comes to finishing the war, I think the economic embargo that we have placed upon them yesterday should work. Now, a lot of people are like, oh, well, they just want, or they don't care about their people. And so they're okay with putting massive amounts of economic pressure on it, and it just won't work. That's true. Part of that is true. They don't care about the people. They don't care about how much economic pain they go through, their people go through. However, they do care about how they pay their proxies, such as Hezbollah, Hamas, Houthis, other places as well. So, whenever we place that economic pressure on them, wait until fall. So, anytime between now and November, they have to pay their proxies. And when it comes time to pay their proxies, this economic pressure is going to have put so much on them that they're going to be unable to pay their proxies. So that's important to remember as well. That the economic pressure doesn't just affect the people; that also affects them because their big money maker comes from their oil, and we have just squeezed them so much they haven't been able to sell any of their oil, and so they don't have a lot of money left. And that means they can't pay for rockets, they can't pay for missiles, they can't pay for guns, they can't pay for anything. They can't pay their proxies, and so that's going to create a massive hurdle they have to overcome. So yes, I do believe America is winning. I believe it's taken a little bit longer than a lot of us expected it or hoped it would go. It would go, but sometimes war goes longer than we expected. And this is something that honestly I would rather my generation deal with than wait for my grandkids or even great grandkids to deal with, because I want the best world that they can have, and I'd rather go through the pain myself than they have to go through it. John Adams once said that he must study politics and war so that his kids can study mathematics and art and poetry. So, that said, I think I'm gonna sign off. Thank you all so much for listening. This is the Ryan Nabinger Show. Again, if you liked it, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and drop a comment below as well. Thank you so much. Have a great day.